Alright, so spawning in, we've got Team GDM here over on the left side of the map with Locke on his Loki, Sparks on his Odin, and Zokio on his Uranus. Meanwhile, on the top side, top right side, we've got Fade2 clan. So you got Gold Lion, Player, and Squash. There's Squash on Loki, Player on Zeus, Gold Lion on Uranus as well. So topside Uranus players, a Zeus and a Loki in the center, and a Loki at the side. Odin in the center, and two Lokis at the end. Come on guys, how's this for Civ diversity? Half of you are playing Norse. What's going on? Does it give you the option of early aggression, hey? Sorry, I'm not much of a teams player. Personally, most of my Age of Mythology experience actually comes from Deathmatch. So, I've honestly actually really been into PvP not terribly long, because I only got into it the Extended Edition Deathmatch. The community, basically run by Nakamura and Phenomenon. So Berry Bush has been turned to a walking unit there. Oops. I'm just going to try and bring up somewhere to see expired chat messages, because then you'll be able to see who actually used their god power on that. Actually, no, the walking berry bushes are just a part of the map by the seams of it. So one's here chasing another Ulfsar. Yeah, I think they're one of the enemies on this map, eh? Yeah. Sorry, thank you for the follow. So yeah, admittedly I haven't actually really played a lot of team games. It's a bit mean of these berry bushes to come in and start attacking your herdables, isn't it? Doesn't actually tell me who summoned that. It must be a part of the map, eh? Why is it not showing me their god powers? Another walking berry bush. Gonna be a pain here for Zokio. The age ups are starting for half of our players, more than half of our players. Everyone on GDM. Oh, here we go. Some of our Fade2 players getting their age ups now as well. So the advantage, I guess, of the Atlanteans is at least they can use their houses for garrisoning. A bit like Chinese in AoE 3. Their villages are like an improved house, like the manor in AoM. So you can garrison your villages there in case they get attacked. On top of that, the citizens are a little bit beefier than the regular villager. Ooh, but Locke needs to look at bringing this ox cart over towards the wood line, because there's a bit of extra walking distance there, so that'll slow down his eco a little. Looks like we're going to have a bit of a fight go on between our lower side Loki mirror on the Atlantean side. He's a bit more patient for the time being. Thank you for the follow. So Squash trying to find a way into Lock's base. This wood line seems a nice patch as a wall off for now, really. There's sort of that gap there, but he's got no interest in going on the berries. It's so much slower than the hunt. Just going to try and wear down that barracks, but Lock can always repair it as well as try and take a favourable engagement himself. So Valor being used by our Atlantean players looking to attack one another. Eligay and the Termers are quite a pest if you can make use of them. They're a pretty trashy unit in deathmatch because of, late game they're actually not that strong, but early on they're actually wonderful for their hit and run capabilities, so mostly an army of these Mamillos though. Harassment going on here. Player having to use his bulk power against Sparks' Valkyrie there, but he's still got another Raider here, so he's going to work away at the villagers, but with that many there, Raiding Cav sort of can't really afford to get surrounded. Ooh, and power shockwave coming in. Going to help stun the villagers, slow down gathering time, split them up a bit, make it a little bit easier for the raiding cav to try and snatch one of them. Top of that wood line being burned. Well, there's no wood gathering at it at the moment. The villagers have all been transferred, so melee going on in the middle. But I think a Fade2 player Squash, again, bringing everything home because Sparks and Lock are coming in hot on him. Over at the top side of the map, we've got Zokyo and Gold Lion squaring off in more of a 1v1 between our two Oranos players. Well, there's more of a 2v2 going on. It's in the lower half of the map. Gold Lion having to back off while Squash is having a retreat under town centre. And that well-placed healing spring, so he'll be able to turn and fight Lock here. While Sparks is attempting to flank and try and go for a 2v1, so I think player's going to have to try and help him out here as best he can. A Greek player has already been contributing a little, but ranged hero this year's really going to add a bit of value along this fight goes on. He's trying to push Godline back, but he's massed up a good number of the Terma. He's actually, I think, got the Terma advantage there by quite a bit. So it means that whenever you guys are both trying to disengage in the fight, the player with, the greater ranged ball ends up generally coming out on top. Melee players generally got to try and shut the other player down as quickly as possible. Take a fight that won't get kited. Because I know he probably wants to try and clear the mana and even try and pressure the resources, but I think it's going to be a tough fight. I don't know if he's got the Mamillo advantage to actually counteract the Terma disadvantage that he's at here, and so Zokyo going to lose a couple more units, have to disengage for now. Player just trying to defend Squash and also heal up a little. Nice combo of Norse and Greek, but against double Norse, I guess you're going to have to play like this most of the time, where you're generally going to be on the back foot, because Norse in particular has a lot of go forward in Age 2. I mean, Greek probably has the next best. Just go forward in any age, because their units are just so cost effective. They're a little bit more expensive, I think, than say Egyptian units, but then again, I think Norse units generally are as well, but generally aren't a great deal better, while Greek units pretty much flat out are. But I do think Greek probably does get going a little bit slower, especially because Norse you go with Hersa or Hersa Raider, so you pretty much have mobility and the ability to fight in the myth units from the get-go. So Sparks, he's actually on the bottom of the score table, but this is very impressive pressure that he's putting on. He's cleaning up a couple of players' villagers, sort of stopping the Greek player from trying to boom up now, because the player has managed to snatch a second town centre here, and I think that's part of the reason why it's a little bit slower on that defence with Squash there. But now he's sort of the prime target for GDM, and F2 will have to sort of take advantage of this boom that he offers, because he's got the highest score on the map, though. Zokyo's not far behind, and Sparks has just taken a second town centre. So it's a scary Raider army. Player's going to have to try and chase it into a corner here. Now he does have the slower units, so. But you can always potentially catch your opponent with walls. It looks like most of our players are going to try and go to a second town centre here if they can, but Gold Lions is going to get denied right now. So being active on the map, even though he's not really been able to get a huge number of villager kills since down here at those berries, he's at least going to really slow down the settlement timing. So Sparks has sort of killed two birds with one stone with this raid already. Not really lost a great deal. A little bit of health on the raiders, and that's pretty much it. Well, Zokyo is pressuring Goldline, and it's really forcing player to have to try and defend Sparks as best try and repel Sparks as best he can, because Goldline's now going to start dropping a couple of ills on the other side of the map. Player is trying to help wall Squash off, because Locke is trying to pressure there. So it looks like GDM are really stressing the defenders here of Fade2. A couple of straggly units at first, we're getting a bit of nice damage there, but the rest of the hoplite ball is way away, so the Raiders are actually going to be able to trade nicely into this and back out. Yeah, they get 2 kills there and get out with some flesh wounds. So Sparks hitting Heroic Age, and so is Squash here. So up in the spot to put a fortress up here somewhere. Needs to be very careful with that battle ball though. Well positioned wall's going to save most of his army there. That frost from Sparks. Well, his own cavalry here continuing to be a pest and forcing player to spend most of his hoplites after him. So Zokyo he's trying to work away at the units, and personally I don't really like this. Like, I think because the Frost God Power maxes out all armor types for all units, if your units are within range of hitting something within the next 10 to 15 seconds, go for it. Like, you could probably just sack that town center if you coordinate doing it as the Frost hits. Like, I think he's only going to get fairly marginal value out of this. Like, he'll get a couple of kills, but really it just stops his own town center from being destroyed until, Sparks is here to help him clean up. I think that's the main value of using the Frost. Like, trying to get the unit kills is pretty inconsequential, to be honest. And I do think a lot of the time you can sack a lot of the buildings instead, then come back and hit them as soon as the Frost lifts anyway. Obviously it's probably a bit of a tough call to do on the fly, and you know, might have relied on his opponent being a little bit closer. It looks as though Squash is now really pushed out into Lock. Although Lock also has this other little force here that seems to be turning the tide. But ultimately Zocchio's come out of that fine, even though he had his army frosted. I mean, even though he had that army frosted on his doorstep there, he's come out of that fine, but Gold Lion, I don't think has lost a huge amount. And player should be able to cover for him now. I think it was largely because player was actually locked up with the Raiders. I think Gold Lion's really struggled here. Frost from a Frost Giant is really nice though, because it doesn't actually raise the armor of the units frosted. So it's a different story to the Frost God Power. It's just that I think generally, especially if you haven't got a lot of forces and you're sort of doing it as an, oh shit, I need to buy myself some time type decision, I think you're generally better trying to siege buildings, you know, with this 50-second lockout on your opponent's army, and then worry about collapsing on it and killing it. Squash now really pressuring Lock here, while Lock still can't find a way into his opponent's base, but certainly does have an intimidating army on his doorstep. Over here at the top side, Zocchio and Sparks looking really solid. They've got a lot of map control established. But player and Squash are doing well. I think Gold Lion is struggling in tad economically. But I think that just might be Atlantean's underpowered XD. Troll, doing a bit of trolling. The Troll Slayers have rocked up, so he's going to have to get the fuck out of there. 2 versus 2 melee at the top. It really feels like this game is, a lot of it has just sort of been a 2 versus 2 at one side of the map and a 1 versus 1 at the other, and it's sort of flipped halfway into this, you know, heroic age push. I don't think our players, anyone's got Fortress Age yet. I mean, not Fortress Age, Mythic Age yet. Sorry, I've been playing too much of the others. These Symphalian birds might be quite nice, because they are going to force range production, although Arcus get in the field now rather than Terma, and they are going to be a more cost-effective choice against their non-counters, because they've just got more base damage. I think that makes them slightly better against buildings too. Terma's of course useful against, you know, Toxotes or masses of Arcus, but otherwise you generally don't really want them in the late game. But either way, they're both going to be useful against Symphalian birds, who are going to be a bit of a pain in the ass. Nice ranged damage, a little bit of splash damage. Down here on the lower side, it's looking drastic for Lock. Squash has really kept the pressure up, denied more gathering. And he's just about to take out the town center. Squash popping the double god powers. He's got his flaming weapons, so all his infantry on the map have increased damage. And I think increased attack speed. On top of that, he's used his wolves, his Fimbulwinter. So they'll have lots of wolves. And that's a surrender there from Team GDM, so Fade2 takes the game.